Chapter 21 Before the Storm. The Marathon rocketed across space, moving away from the safety of the Sanctuary Moon and towards the oncoming Destican fleet. Ino was pacing in her quarters, counting down the hours until it was time to raise the alarm. Wake everyone up at 0330. Breakfast at 0400. Battle stations at 0530. Ino stopped pacing and looked at the clock on her desk. It was 2200 hours. She needed to get some sleep, but she was too anxious to rest. The door chime sounded. "Enter," Ino said absent-mindedly. The door slid open and Ryland stepped inside, closing it behind him. "I wanted to check on you," he said. Ino sat down on her bed and patted the space next to her. "Honestly, that's sweet of you," she said. Ryland sat down next to Ino and put one arm over her shoulder. She had taught him how to do this during one of their previous dates. "Thanks," Ino said. "The stress has just been... well, I'm sure you understand." "I do," Ryland told her. "I commanded the Addimash through 2 years of war. That sense you're feeling, we call it the edge. I've known it plenty of times, and it never gets easier." Ino chuckled. "Well, in that case, stay with me for a little while? Help me forget about the edge?" Ryland obliged, allowing Ino to rest on his shoulder. The two of them cast around for something to say, and then Ryland found a topic. "I've been thinking about what I'm going to do after the war." Ino tensed up a little. This was a topic she had given no thought to. She did not have an answer ready. "Some of my crew have followed our example, developing friendships and personal relationships with your own crew," Ryland explained. "I've heard rumors of a post-war colony with a mixed human-Savanti population. Some of your crew have even said they would consider being cyberized to fully integrate with our way of life. I've decided I want to go there. You'll be welcome in the colony as well, though I suppose you'd rather go back to your homeworld." Ino shook Ryland's hand and squeezed it tightly. "Actually, I might come find you when my service ends." "You think so?" Ryland drew her closer. "I enjoy spending time with you. I look forward to it even," Ino confessed. "Plus, I'm still curious about the fusion interlink." Ryland looked genuinely touched that Ino had remembered a detail about his own religious beliefs, one he had not mentioned in several weeks. He embraced Ino, and the couple suddenly felt much warmer. "I'll be happy to share my world with someone like you," Ryland told her. "Maybe we could share something else tonight?" Ino said, lowering the tone of her voice. "Really take our minds off the edge." Ino was delighted to discover that Ryland, despite being a cyborg, was physically compatible with her own biology. Savanti were humanoid mammalians, after all, and once Ryland understood that it was okay to proceed, he made his own urges and desires known. After an initial moment of awkwardness, making sure things were in the right place and being used correctly, Ino and Ryland spent the next hour together, although very few words were spoken. When blissful calm and quiet returned to Ino's quarters, the couple slowly started to fall into a desperately needed sleep. "Capitano Esperanta, bonvolu qui jeki. Mi bronzas parole con vi." Axiom's voice grated in Ino's ears like an alarm clock. She groggily tried to sit up, but Ryland had fallen asleep with one arm across her chest, and Ino couldn't find the strength to move it. Ino's mind instinctively shifted languages, and she replied to Axiom in Esperanto. "What time is it?" 02:55 hours, the AI responded through the intercom speaker. I must pass along an urgent request. What request? Ino said. From myself, Astro Creator Azarin, and Delegate, said Axiom. We believe your plot to deceive the enemy remains our best chance of victory, and wish to add our own contribution. Ryland was starting to wake up. Is that your language? He said in English. Ino ignored him and continued talking to Axiom in Esperanto. Out with it. What do you want to do? We wish to repurpose one of the ship's military androids for the purpose of deceiving the enemy, Axiom explained. Azarin has given me the code needed to reprogram the matter recycler, enabling it to create a synthetic dermal layer that will deceive any observer into thinking the android is fully human. Ino frowned in thought for a moment. The AI in those androids is far less complex than your own, Axiom. It might look human, but it won't act like a human. Unless... Are you planning to remote control this thing, Axiom? That's the plan, Axiom confirmed. As long as the modified android remains aboard the ship, I can give it guidance. Just guidance? Ino asked. You're not going to control the thing outright. No need, Axiom responded. The android in question volunteered for the mission. Ino hesitated. She cursed herself for forgetting, even for just a moment, that the ship's military androids were sentient. Okay, Ino replied. You have my go-ahead. And get that android's name so I can put them up for an interstellar service cross when this is all over. Aura 2 says he's just doing his duty, Captain, Axiom replied, but he accepts your praise all the same. Around 3:30 in the morning, the first alarm sounded. All members of the crew woke up, regardless of when their next duty shift was. Ino and Sota stood in the lower enlisted cafeteria, making certain that everybody ate breakfast before going to their stations. Eat up, it's going to be a long day, Ino instructed a group of crew members. Beninato, I want you back on the bridge 5 minutes before we sound battle stations. Elodie found her boyfriend Pavlo in the hangar bay and kissed him goodbye. Are you sure those adjustments to the Beryuza missiles will work? Elodie said. Only one way to find out, Pavlo told her. I'm not all that comfortable putting much faith in Axiom. But we're out of options. Good luck out there. And to you, Elodie said. Up on the bridge, Sota rejoined Ino and took the con. Enemy status, she asked. The enemy fleet has gone their separate ways. 3 groups of 2 ships, Sota explained. Savanti authorities say their planetary defenses are ready. Our guests will launch from Hangar 2 and handle the next group. It's on us to deal with Kailasha and its escort. Ino looked up at the ceiling and spoke in Esperanto. Axiom, how's your little project coming along? We're ready, Captain, Axiom replied. Ino turned to Sota. Our status? A grin sped across Sota's face. All repairs completed, Captain, he said. The marathon is ready for a fight. All systems online. Time until the Nexus storm arrives. 4 days. How long will it take us to get back to the Sanctuary Moon and debark the whole crew? 36 hours. What's the status of the Caravaneer fleet? No change. They're still fighting the slave uprising on one of their larger vessels. Ino nodded. Then she looked around the bridge one last time. Anyone have a last-second request? An objection? Any famous last words? Acting Ensign Yamada stood up and raised her hand. Respectfully, ma'am? Let's go get the bastards, she said. All of the bridge officers cheered. Ino clapped her hands and pushed the intercom button on the armrest of the captain's chair. This is not a drill! This is not a drill! General quarters! All hands to your battle stations! Set anti-ship warfare condition 1 throughout the ship. Up and forward is on your starboard side. Down and aft is on your port side. All throughout the marathon, alarms began to blare as crew locked down the ship and made ready for battle. Sota Beninato's voice sounded over the speakers. 89 minutes to enemy contact. Airtight bulkhead doors slammed shut. The cloaking sails unfurled. Firefighters reported to their stations. Marines armed themselves. 88 minutes to enemy contact. The comms board on the bridge lit up as section leaders began to call in. Engineering ready. Medbay staffed and ready. Weapons control standing by. Shields up and ready. Cloaking sails online. Comms and sensors ready. CIC ready for combat. Hangar bay ready. Air wing is go to launch. Impulse engines standing by. Ship's AI standing by. Marine detachment locked and loaded. Damage control team ready. Helm is ready. Very well, Ino said. Yamada, give me flag speed and lay in an intercept course for the Kailasha. Report when the enemy is in weapon range. Beninato, dispatch damage control teams to the antimatter plant. This was a crucial part of Ino's plan. Somehow, the enemy was able to eavesdrop on the crew, even make themselves appear aboard the Marathon. She was going to turn this against them. If Araj appeared on the ship right now, he would be presented with a false impression of what was going on aboard the ship. At a prearranged time, the damage control team suddenly called the bridge with a report. We have a major electrical failure in the antimatter power plant. We have to take it offline. Shut down the antimatter reactor and switch to auxiliary systems, Ino ordered. Helm, reduce acceleration to engines ahead 1/3. Moments later, Prisman called the bridge from the CIC. Kailasha and her escort have disappeared from sensors. They've activated their cloaking devices. Ino nodded and cast her eyes to a nearby wall clock. She was counting down the minutes. Helm, come about and make our course 140 plus 25. Steady as she goes. This leisurely course was intentional. Ino was trying to make the Marathon into a sitting duck, trying to provoke an attack. 2 minutes. 3 minutes. 5 minutes. I know you're out there, Ino whispered to no one in particular. I thought you were superior. I'm disappointed. Captain, I'm picking up an energy spike bearing 228-30, EW Officer Mancini called out. Divert power to the port side point defense systems, Ino ordered. Engines ahead flank. The Kailasha opened fire, launching a pair of anti-capital ship torpedoes from close range. Marathon's point defense system activated, destroying the torpedoes with precision laser fire. Moments later, strike craft began to launch from the hangar. The first starfighters to emerge were Prima Nocta Squadron. Flying Beriev A-110 VWAX spacecraft, their advanced sensor arrays could defeat Destican cloaking fields at close range. Then a group of MiG-95 starfighters emerged. Ashwinder Squadron hurtled towards Kailasha and her escort vessel. AI-guided missiles away, Pavlo reported from the lead fighter. A salvo of guided missiles streaked through space, each one piloted remotely by Axiom. Both of the Destican warships launched countermeasures and moved to evade, firing their disruptor banks at the incoming warheads. One missile got through and hit the Kailasha's escort, but failed to detonate. Negative impact, Axiom reported to the bridge. Fuck, I knew those missiles were duds, Sota cursed. We should have used something else. We're not playing dead anymore, Ino said. Order the fighters to get clear and fire antimatter missiles. We're going after them. Kailasha and her escort turned to flee, defending against multiple salvos of missiles. Directed energy beam, EW Officer Mancini reported. We're being hit by that telepathic weapon again. Ino fought off the urge to repeat her canned phrase. Report! All stations report in! There was a pause. Bridge! This is the brig! Came the voice of a panicked young woman. We've got a prisoner escape! The marauders are loose! Before the woman could say anything else, the line went dead. "Prisoner escape!" Ino called out. "Liechtenstein, Axiom, you're up! Corral those fucking reptilians! Kill anyone who doesn't surrender on sight!" Down in the armory, Elodie was working with only half of her team. Johann, Savea, and Agdashlu were aboard the vivarium, protecting the Astro Creator. She had filled their ranks with Marines from other teams, and now she had to put them to work. "Activate the military androids and give them weapons," Elodie ordered. "Lock down all corridors leading away from the brig, and make sure to put on your breathing masks. I'm not taking any chances with these guys. Durand, you're in charge of the second team. Find our people and evacuate them before they get killed." "Yes, Gunny Sarge," said Hermione. Elodie opened a locker and produced a white officer's uniform, the same type of clothes worn by Ino and the other bridge officers. She had been briefed on her role in Axiom's plan, but she had no idea how it factored into Ino's plan. "Too many plans. This is all gonna go sideways," Elodie grumbled. "Axiom, I've got the uniform. Are you ready?" One of the charging stations, normally used by the military androids, opened up, and a naked human stepped out. The stranger had wavy blonde hair and vivid green eyes, but some indescribable quality of the nude figure made it clear that Elodie was looking at an android and not a living person. The synthetic life form, known as Aura 2, looked at Elodie and spoke in a near-perfect copy of Ino's voice. "Give me the uniform. I will do my part, and you will do yours." "How much of this plan did you tell Ino?" Elodie asked, hesitating. "Just enough to ensure it works," Aura 2 replied.
Destiny is hard to meet. It'll hunt you down somewhere along the way. Don't you see we're meant to be the prodigies that came to show the way? 'Cause I don't wanna rule the world alone. None of us can make it on our own. I'm screaming but I cannot hear a sound. The suffocation slowly comes around.